am doing a finished object update. This is my math sweater. Oh, by the way, you can find me on TheYarnCloset AZ on Instagram, The Yarn Closet over at Patreon, where there's a lot of free blogs and other download information, and where you can also support the podcast if you want to get involved with some of those prizes. Look, it's not falling off of me. So here's my lesson for this. Okay, and I have not blocked the neckline again. What I went ahead and did was freak out, get sad, and then I contacted Amy Beth over at the Fat Squirrel Speaks, because I listened to her and I listened to her and I listened to her. She's so good at modifying sweaters, and honestly I don't know why I buy patterns, because they're only inspiration. I rarely even stick with their stitch counts, because I have a hard time telling from a picture what the actual gauge kind of looks like. So if I use that needle that it's said and I don't get that same gauge, I don't know if the pattern, if the fabric really looks the same, if I need to get that gauge to get that right fabric. Do you see where I'm going with that? Because I can't always tell if that's a real gauzy look in the picture. I mean, sometimes I can, but not always. Yes, I had an extra cup of coffee this morning. It's been a doozy of a week, a doozy. So anyway, I contacted her and told her what the conundrum was and what I thought I should do about it. I really didn't want to have to rip back the entire thing and do it over again, because I'd already ripped these out and reconnected them through crochet. Because remember, they had a chunk, an extra chunk about this wide of stockinette, and then it was the ribbing. It didn't need that. The sweater didn't need it. I've also learned that I would probably do the sweater, well, these are not the exact same stitch count. I think they're off by 4 or 8. But I'll make a better effort in the next go round to make it a little bit maybe more fitted. So anyway, don't be afraid to contact people that you watch. Just don't. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? They're going to say no. They don't contact you back. Pff, who cares? But when they do, and you just are so blessed, look what can happen. This really was fast and easy. I went ahead and I ripped out the bind off, restrung my needles, and then I did, from her suggestions, I did raglan decreases. But honey, I didn't even go back all the way. She's like, start over and do some raglan decreases. I just ripped out the binding and I started doing the raglan decreases there. And I only had to do like 4 in 8 rows. And then I bound off again. But because of the way I did my raglan, there were the little holes, and I really didn't actually like the look of it. And I had used a smaller needle by, because originally I did this on a 3.75. I used a 3.25 to do those last few rows and to bind off. And I don't think you can tell the difference. It may have helped a little bit, and I love it. I love it. It's still open enough you can get a little hint of tattoo. And no, that's not why I like this kind of a neckline. And this hits just a little bit tight. I just like this neckline because I don't like to shape things. I don't like wrap and turns. I'm not very good at wrap and turns. I'm just not. But it turned out. It absolutely turned out. And the blocking made a world of difference. It absolutely looks great with a pair of jeans. It hits me, you know, at the fullest part of my belly. which is a little bit big right now, today. Doesn't look that bad. So then I put my blue sweater aside because it's too flippin' hot to be working on bulky polyester yarn. So I was looking for other patterns. Paid for, downloaded the ranunculus, and got some other patterns, looked in my book, because I have 2 books, one piece and top down, so that I have help when it comes to construction and math. And I really like the speed of the ranunculus? Anyway, but it looked a little too gauzy, and then I saw ones that weren't actually that gauzy, but lighter weight. And I'm trying not to buy any yarn. So, it was just a jumping off point. I went ahead and I found something that I believe I will have 2 sweater quantities of, because I have 4 skeins of Lion Brand 100% Superwash Merino in this color. And if I use 2 skeins and then something else like I did on this sweater that I actually put in, I think I can get 2 sweaters out of it. So I started with the same stitch count as this mass sweater, and I did bottom up, I did longer ribbing, but I used different needle size. And this yarn was Red Heart Marley Bird. Comparable to this yarn, this was worsted. This says it's DK. However, I would say it's more of a sport, because it just doesn't knit up like most of the DKs I have. It knits up like most of the sports that I use. So I went ahead and I changed my needle size. So I changed the yarn size from this sweater, but used the same stitch count, and I'm going to use the same basic plan. But I used different needle sizes. Instead of a 3.75 on my ribbing, I used a 4.5. And it's still a 2x2 because that's my favorite. And then I'm using a 5 for the body, whereas in this one I used a 3.75 and a 4.5. So I'm going up a little bit. It's changed my gauge a little bit, but this is also so much lighter weight, and I think once it's blocked and has a little bit of stretch to it, it will hang more like that ranunculus. And yes, I'm just going to do it with ribbing right on the panel. And whether or not I actually put in some lace here on this one, I haven't decided. I haven't decided if I'm just going to put in lace or if I'm going to do this. This was a Malabrigo, and it's fingering weight, so I could put it with this Lion Brand and put in some of those little heart pops that my mom likes so much. This stitch, and I could do that through a little bit of the yoke up here and possibly in the back, and maybe have enough to feather it over the saddle so it actually looks more like a yoke, because I'm going with this faux yoke idea. And I don't know if I really want holes and laciness because of my fair skin tone. I just don't think that that's totally my jam. Because I'd get a pattern sunburn. That's the reason. That's really the reason. So I'm doing that, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the lightness of it. I started this DK Weight Opal sock. So I love the pattern that that's working up as. Yes, I could do DK weight in my circular sock machine if I wanted to. I don't want to. Somebody suggested that what I need to do is make a tighter sock and a thicker sock, and people kept saying to me, Laura, you're making slippers. You're not making socks because you're wearing them around the house without shoes to be slippers. So I'm taking this to heart and I'm going to try to do some other things. I've also had a really bad week. Mom and I put up the podcast Wednesday, but we did it last Friday. It's just been a tough week. It's been a really tough week. I'm tired and emotional and just blown away at how easily that I was really able to fix this. And a lot of people don't go back and like sew up holes if they know it was somewhat intentional. So in the raglan, that was kind of intentional. But I just sewed them up because I wanted them closed, and I'm not that good at doing a raglan that's closed. Mine look wonky, kind of like this side looks a little wonky. And sure, if I block this, it will soften up a little bit more. But goodness gracious, people, this is fun. I really do like sweater knitting. I'm going to try to pop out a couple of crochet projects. And so tell me what you're working on. Is anybody else doing sweaters? Don't be afraid of going back and fixing it. As scary as it is, fixing it and then being able to wear it is going to be fabulous. Thank you for your support and thank you for your friendship. Look with your heart first.